When you look at your dog, it looks back at you. Not at food, not at a toy, right at you. And if you've ever wondered why that moment feels so strangely meaningful, the answer goes back further than you can imagine. It goes back to a world before cities, before farming, before anything you'd recognize as human civilization. And the wild part, your dog's ancestors started this, not yours. Your dog is actually a descendant of wolves, wild, howling, pack-hunting, deer-chasing wolves. And somehow, we went from that to tiny dogs in sweaters named Biscuit. Today I want to tell you the story of how that happened, because it's one of the most remarkable, strange, and honestly kind of beautiful stories in all of human history. Imagine life sometime between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago. Life is not as luxurious as it is now. If you want to eat, you have to hunt and gather. At night, you sleep huddled around a fire, hoping whatever made that sound in the darkness doesn't come any closer. That thing out there in that darkness? Wolves. Fast, intelligent, deeply social animals that live and hunt in cooperative packs. You and the wolf actually have more in common than you'd think. You both work in groups, take care of your young, communicate constantly, and cherish leftovers. That last one is important. That is basically the whole story. Here is the leading scientific theory for how domestication began, and it's both deeply scientific and relatable. Wolves started hanging around human trash. I know. Groundbreaking, right? Early humans made camp. They cooked food. They left scraps and bones around the edges of their settlements. And certain wolves, the bolder, more curious, less skittish ones, started creeping closer to grab those scraps. The wolves that were too aggressive got chased off. The ones that were too fearful ran away. But the ones that hit that Goldilocks zone, just friendly enough, stuck around. They got fed. They survived. They had puppies that were also just friendly enough, and those puppies had puppies. Generation after generation, the wolves that could tolerate humans, that could hang around the campfire without trying to eat anyone, were the ones that thrived. This process is called self-domestication. The wolves essentially domesticated themselves. They opted into our lives. We didn't go out and drag wolves back to camp. They came to us for the food. In 1959, a Soviet scientist named Dmitry Belyaev set up one of the most famous experiments in biology. He wanted to understand domestication, so he started selectively breeding foxes, choosing only the tamest, most human-friendly foxes to reproduce each generation. Within just 10 generations, the foxes started behaving differently. Within 20 generations, something wild happened. They started looking different. Floppy ears, curly tails, spotted coats, shorter snouts, and bigger eyes. The foxes were physically changing, becoming in appearance more like dogs, just because humans were selecting for friendliness. What Belyaev discovered was that the genes controlling tameness are connected to the same developmental pathways that control physical features. Select for one, you get the other. This is why dogs, descendants of wolves, have floppy ears, rounded faces, and those big puppy eyes. They were engineered by evolution to make you fall in love with them. In fact, researchers have found that dogs have a special muscle around their eyes, one that wolves don't have, that lets them make that soulful, eyebrow-raising expression. You know the one. The, "I am a good boy, and I know you know it" face. Dogs evolved that muscle specifically to communicate with humans. They looked at us so much for so long that their faces actually changed. But dogs didn't just become companions. They became partners, both working and essential ones. Early dogs helped humans hunt. A dog's nose is, conservatively, about 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive than a human's. A dog can detect a scent trail hours old, follow it through mud and rain, and lead hunters directly to prey. For prehistoric humans, having a dog wasn't just cute, it was a significant competitive advantage. Dogs also served as guards, warning camps of approaching predators or rival groups, herders helping manage livestock as humans transitioned to farming, sled pullers, allowing humans to colonize Arctic environments that would otherwise be nearly impossible to survive. Ratters, keeping grain stores free from rodents. Cats eventually took this job title, but for a long time, dogs had it covered. There's even evidence suggesting that human groups with dogs out-competed groups without dogs. The partnership between humans and dogs may have fundamentally shaped which human populations flourished. Now fast forward to today. From that single ancestral wolf population, humans have bred, through artificial selection, over 340 recognized dog breeds. We have the Chihuahua, which weighs 4 pounds and has the personality of a tiny, furious security guard. We have the Great Dane, which weighs 150 pounds and thinks it's a lapdog. We have the Dachshund, which was specifically bred to go underground and fight badgers. Just think about that for a second. Someone looked at a badger and said, "I need a dog shaped like a tube to deal with this." We have dogs that can detect cancer by smell, dogs that guide the blind, dogs that detect seizures before they happen, dogs trained to locate earthquake survivors buried under rubble. We have dogs that comfort children in hospitals, and dogs that help veterans manage PTSD. And yes, we also have dogs that eat entire couch cushions and then look at you with complete innocence. The range is extraordinary. When a human and their dog make eye contact, just look at each other, both the human and the dog experience a spike in oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone, the same one released between parents and their children, between close friends, between people in love. Dogs are one of the only non-human animal known to trigger this response in humans through eye contact. The relationship between humans and dogs is not just a footnote in history. It's one of the most enduring, most profound interspecies partnerships on Earth. It began not with a dramatic moment of human mastery over nature, but with something much humbler: two species circling the same fire, both just trying to make it through another night. We gave them scraps. They gave us loyalty. We gave them shelter. They gave us protection. We gave them names like Sir Waffles II. They gave us, and science backs this up, lower blood pressure, reduced anxiety, and a reason to go outside when we really don't feel like it. The next time your dog does something completely absurd, eats something they shouldn't, barks at a ceiling fan, brings you a sock as a gift, just remember, that animal walked out of the wilderness to be with us thousands of years ago, and they're still here. Good boy.